All right, let's talk about the Los Angeles Chargers this time of year. Of course, we're working our way through OTAs, getting closer to training camp in the regular season. And while we know this Charger squad is very talented, both sides of the football, sometimes it's those under the radar guys, the guys that are getting their first reps with the veterans under the coach's supervision that can really make a huge difference. And there's one Chargers rookie in particular that's impressing everyone. He's off to a great start, including catching the eye of head coach Jim Harbaugh. We'll get to all that in just 1 second. But first, I'm Nick. That is Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, this Chargers team is one of the top contenders in the entire AFC. I think that's undeniable at this point. What's also undeniable is this AFC West, which was already pretty tough, looks to be getting even tougher. The Chiefs are still very good. The Broncos are looking to build off of a really solid season with head coach Sean Payton, Bo Nix entering year 2. And then, of course, you've got the Raiders, by all accounts, seem to be actually doing a lot of really smart moves with Spytech and Carroll and company, leading what they think could be a renaissance in Las Vegas. The AFC West, like I said before, already good. It's getting a lot better, which means the Chargers, if you want to come out on top, it's going to take more than just your star players playing good. It's going to be the special teams guys, the grinders, the under the radar players that can make the difference between winning and losing. Fortunately for the Chargers, they've got one rookie, a guy from Iowa State by the name of Steo Klotz. Great name, who is impressing everyone up to this point, whether it's the media, the coaches, everyone's blown away by what this kid could provide. Let's get into the articles, and then we'll get into some interesting data on the other side. First up, this one is courtesy of Fansided. There are still spots up for grabs, though, and OTs are a great opportunity for players to prove they belong. Steo Klotz is doing just that, and he might make the Chargers' 53-man roster as a result. What makes Klotz's emergence that much more impressive is that he was signed by the Chargers as an undrafted free agent. Going from being an undrafted free agent to a member of a Week 1 roster would be wild, and yet it feels entirely realistic based on what Daniel Popper of The Athletic had to say. So basically what Daniel Popper over at The Athletic, what he basically highlighted is that everyone's impressed, players, coaches, media across the board, with what Klotz is doing very early on in the process here, working the way through the mini camps and the OTAs. He's known more as a run blocker. This is a guy who caught a total of 15 passes in college, but he's making some plays in the passing game, in OTAs, in minicamp. The pads are off. We all understand that. But the fact that this undrafted kid is coming out and doing a lot of good things, he's caught the eye out of a lot of people. One guy in particular, like I mentioned before, is head coach Jim Harbaugh. This is what Harbaugh had to say about Steo Klotz. He said, fullback, tight end, and special teams, Harbaugh said when asked about Klotz's role. I think he can be an above-average core special teams player in the National Football League. And where he's at right now, I think he could quit himself well at one of those two positions. So again, we're not looking at Klotz to be, the next Antonio Gates or anything like that. No one is saying that. But what he is a key role player emerging, a special teams ace, a key depth piece as a blocking tight end in the Chargers offense. Because if you look at what the Chargers desperately need, like if you look at the roster talent, they're good at a lot of positions, right? Even in areas where they're young, you look at wide receiver, you got a Lad McConkey, who's a growing superstar. They're good at running back with, of course, Najee Harris and Hampton. Offensive line got a lot better. Herbert's a superstar. The defense still has a few flaws, but overall, I think is a lot better, a lot younger than what they were last season. But one thing that they definitely need to work on that's sliding under the radar is the special teams component. And that leads us directly into our next graphic here to kind of highlight what we're talking about. So we looked at the 2024 special teams grades of all the AFC contenders, and these are the people that we highlighted as the AFC contenders, right? This isn't an exhaustive list. This is just what we look at and say, hey, these are the top guys in the AFC the Chargers are likely going to be going up against. So we got the Cincinnati Bengals. They missed the playoffs last year, but they're going to be absolutely stacked. You have, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs. You have the Denver Broncos. You have the Pittsburgh Steelers. You have the Buffalo Bills. And then you have the Chargers. So among a lot of the top AFC contenders, the Chargers are significantly worse when it comes to special teams grade. That's what we're showing on the graphic here. The Bengals are really good. The Chiefs are good. Broncos really good. Steelers are solid. Bills okay, but the Chargers come behind all of those guys. The only other AFC contender that isn't on this list that could potentially be considered is the Baltimore Ravens. The reason I didn't put them on here is because they replaced their kicker. So their special teams grade from 2024 is pretty much irrelevant at this point because Justin Tucker for Baltimore had a disastrous year last season. Because of that, it weighed down the Ravens special teams grade. So it kind of was an improper data point. But if you look at across the board, these other AFC contenders, the Chargers were lagging behind. This is what can make the difference in these big games, those close games at the end of the season when you get into the playoffs. Can you have a guy make a big special teams play, kicker making a big kick, right? That can make all the difference. The Chiefs have proven it time in and time out. This is one of the ways when you have a good quarterback, a good coach, a good roster, which the Chargers have, this is how you can differentiate yourself either positively or negatively. And this is why the Steo Klotz story is so important. Adding in a quality special teams player, a versatile guy who can do everything on a bunch of different special teams units that can take your unit, which as you can see right now, below 80 and get it up to the top contenders in the entire AFC. And when push comes to shove, that can mean all the difference between winning and losing. Miles, I know you've got a few thoughts on this, but first, Chargers fans, in the comment section below, we're talking special teams, we're talking Steo Klotz, which makes me want to ask you guys, who, in your opinion, is the greatest special teams player in Chargers history? Not just returners, although returners are optional, you can certainly pick them, but if you're thinking special teams ace, a guy who just really valued special teams and did a great job on it, give us what you think, or who you think, I should say, is the greatest special teams player in Chargers history. Let us know in the comment section below. But Miles, over to you now. What are your thoughts on the Chargers and Steo Klotz and just everything going on with this team right now?
Yeah, Nick, I think what the Chargers are doing on offense here and what they have going, this could be the perfect move for them. This could be a huge get as far as that goes, because this is a Greg Roman-led offense that, whether you like or not, it's run heavy. They got a lot of guys. They're gonna hit you on the ground. Justin Herbert's fantastic. They've got good receivers, like you said, Lad McConkey, a rising superstar. But they need to start things off on the ground. So you got to get guys in here who can block, who are hefty, got some size on them, and really run that Greg Roman offense. And Klotz is a guy who fits the role. Actually, all of the Chargers, talking about the starting tight ends from last year, they all fit that role. Whether you talk about Tyler Conklin or Will Dissly, they're all guys that are about 6'4", 260 pounds, decent sized tight ends. Because you look, when was Greg Roman's offense the most, effective? It was that 2019 run with the Baltimore Ravens when they had three really good tight ends, and they ran them a lot. They had Nick Boyle, they had Hayden Hurst, they had Mark Andrews. There's a lot of heft up front, a lot of great three tight end packages. So a guy that can make the roster, and a guy like Steo Klotz, and potentially in niche situations be that third tight end, be a big body who can come in and block and do some stuff like that, or be on special teams, just help this team out overall. I think it's going to be a really, really good addition. Now, you look at this team, I do think what you're saying, he's going to be more of a special teams ad. That's where the majority of his effect on this roster is going to come in. But when you look at his size, what he's able to do, decent blocking grades last year. He has 70 overall pass blocking grade for an undrafted guy. That's a pretty good grade, 66.5 run blocking grade. But get him in there, get NFL weight room, get a little bit more nastiness under his belt. I think he could probably raise those grades up a little bit as well. But overall, this guy seems like a fit for the Chargers for that Greg Roman offense as well. So I like that fit in itself. But special teams, like you said, the chart is undeniable. When you're the Chargers, you got to be, there's a three-phase game for a reason. You can't just be good in two of them. You got to be good in all three. Getting that special teams grade up is paramount. Going to really help them excel the next two seasons. This offense, decent last year. 13th-ish overall in the NFL. Not too bad, but this could help it. Defense, good last year. 6th overall in the NFL per defense, their defensive rankings per PFF. This is a team, just raise that special teams grade just a little bit. Get good through all three phases of the game. And I think this Chargers team could have something special cooking with the addition of Steo Klotz.
And it's important to understand when you talk about special teams fit, Klotz was never, ever for a moment, even during his time at Iowa State, considered a receiving guy, right? This never was his MO. He was a linebacker his freshman season at Iowa State. He switched to go to tight end offensively, again, primarily as a blocker, primarily as a third tight end option. So this is not a guy who at any point in time was expected to be a receiving tight end and just didn't live up to that. He was an old school fullback linebacker type from basically his second season on at Iowa State, and he just took that mantle and ran with it, right? And that's why one of the many reasons why his production isn't that great in terms of his career receptions and things like that. In fact, he actually played special teams in college for a lot of his career. He actually had a kickoff return at a certain point on an onside kick during his time at Iowa State. So he's very familiar with special teams. He is a team-first guy. He's an old-school guy. You can see why Harbaugh likes him. Just physical, tough, nasty, loves playing football. Is he the most athletic guy in the world? No. Is he the most dynamic guy in the world? No. But we talk about a guy who will put his helmet in there, his face mask in there, and has the versatility and willingness to play a bunch of different areas on special teams. This is it. This is what you're looking for. And I know people get caught up in the headlines of first round picks and second round picks, and all of that is incredibly important. But it's a 53-man roster, 45 drafts. Every single guy on that roster has to come up to play. If you go out there and you have a bad special teams debacle, and Chargers fans, you've seen it, I know you've seen it a bunch, it can completely mitigate a dominant defensive performance, a dominant offensive performance, because you have a collapse and you lose the game because of special team errors. Having a guy like Klotz earning his way onto the roster the way it's trending now as a special teams ace, potentially a depth guy as a number 3 tight end down the road, is exactly what the Chargers need to mitigate that risk and even take it to another level, turn the weakness of their special teams compared to the contenders into a strength. We look at this Chargers team and everyone's like, well, how do they take another year, right? Is it Ladd McConkey getting another year under his belt? Is it Joe Alt getting another year under his belt? Herbert another year in his system? All of that does matter, undeniably so. But I think it's improving the special teams. This was a big area, and you brought the PFF grades. Defense was already great. Offense is already really good. Special teams was a clear area they could get better at, and I think they did it with the addition of Steo Klotz.